and someone you're going to be seeing a lot of all the time. She's kind of a partner now on the channel, and she has her own channel too, which you can see there. Hi, Margaret. How you doing?
Hey, Kevin. How are you? This is exciting.
Let me try to give Margaret a more formal introduction.
Oh boy.
Which is, so let's see. Since we're getting, I already. What is the name of your channel, Margaret? Because you can find it here too. So
At It's a Crime Media.
It's a Crime Media. And so you can please, if you haven't already done so, go over and subscribe there, and you can see the same show there. And we're going to be adding some new channels so you'll be able to see this from. So to introduce you already know most of you, Margaret McLean. She is a former prosecutor from Lawrence. She's an author of both fiction and nonfiction. She's a regular on Court TV and the Canton Confidential. She's a harpooner of bluefin tuna.
Close. I haven't harpooned one yet, but I've been on the rod. 6 to 8 hours on the rod. But throwing the harpoon, I know I'd miss.
She did. She at least did somehow wound this great beast.
Oh yeah. Well, we caught him and sold him to Japan. So yeah, and that was harder than the Karen Read case.
Hopefully our moderator Tom is not listening at this moment and is cracking a beer, because I think Tom, if he was in the boat with you, would have held your arm. He would not have been a fan of striking any animal.
Well, this was different. Does he like to eat fish?
He does.
Well, there you go then.
He does.
He can't have it both ways. So.
That's right. It's so funny how we in the world, we don't really know. Tom obviously does, but we're so distanced from the production of our food sources, meats and things like that, where it was for most of human history, that would have just, you're growing up with the pig in the hut with you. When it's time, you're having dinner, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we go to the supermarket, but it's got to come from somewhere, right?
That's right. That's somewhere, I'm glad I don't have to be a part of that process myself.
That's funny.
I'm totally a city boy. I don't know if you know. So that a lot of people complain about that. Well, not a lot. Some people complain about that little intro I have there, and it's just the purpose of it is just to have a 5-minute countdown, because people a lot of times don't get the notifications, but they're on YouTube doing something else, and they'll see Kevin is live or Yellow Cottage Tales is live. And I don't like them to get there and they find out they missed the first 2 minutes of the show. So at least it gives them a chance to kind of gather. So I just had to throw whatever images I had handy on that. But I noticed one of them in there is a TV pilot that I'm working on with my good friend and frequent co-writer, Dina McKinnon in Florida. And that's a TV series called No Place. But that's just weird things that we just throw in there. I know it doesn't seem to be a lot to do with true crime.
Well, no, it can, and I've got to introduce you, Kevin. I mean, Kevin Lenahan is someone who I watched on Court TV for the first Karen Read trial. Every night I would tune in to see what he had to say. And Kevin, you had such insights into that case in both the first trial and the second trial. And he also wrote a great, fabulous book on it. What's the title of the book again, Kevin? I have it and I'm trying to think.
It's not a title I chose, but it was one the publisher chose, but I've grown to accept it. It's called Storm of Suspicion.
That's right. Storm of Suspicion.
And I think their thinking was in their way, they were worried about this was going to be published before the second trial, so before a verdict, and they were worried that the book might seem slanted in one side or another, so they thought they were somehow protecting themselves by using the word suspicion.
It's a great book, though. It was
Thank
fantastic.
you.
And Kevin, you've written a number of screenplays too, and also I think it's really cool how Kevin submitted a screenplay to the Academy for a really cool contest they have every year, and with all the probably thousands of screenplays across the country, yours made it all the way to the semifinals. With great reviews.
I had no idea. So me and Margaret and my cousin, I'm not sure if I should mention her name. Some people get, but I'm going to say it. Michelle, sorry, I'm mentioning your name. We got together for a meeting this week and to go over this new project that we're going to be talking about tonight. I've hinted at it a little bit for you guys. And so part of what we're doing tonight, though, just for something fun, and maybe, and if it works out, it's something we'll do regularly, maybe once a week. We got to choose some cases. And one of the cases I chose is the very one that led to the inspiration for that screenplay. So we'll get to it in a little while, but it's one of those, it's the very case.
And it's going to be a good one. So tell the viewers about what we've decided to do. So we're running a little bit of I would say it's a contest ourselves. We're playing a little bit of a card game here. Kevin versus after Margaret.
We're going to, right. So after we spend a few minutes talking about the project that we're going to try to accomplish with this cold case desk, we're going to try this new game that we just invented this afternoon. And I want to say the rules of the game and how the game is played, I would say, is actually evolving because we didn't have time to come up with a full way to do it. So, like life, like a lot of things, like Turtle Boy's explanations to his girlfriends about what's on his phone, it's evolving.
Well, that's funny.
The explanation is evolving. So,
yes.
But for now, it'll be like a 3-card poker game. And me and Margaret will each play 3 cards out, and you in the audience will determine who wins. So that'll be how it goes down. And we may evolve a better way to do that game as time goes by. And it's funny, Margaret, when that popped into my head today about doing cards, I had totally forgot. And when I was looking for images today for one of the cases, there's actually Massachusetts, I think the state police have a card deck for unsolved cases. Did you know that?
Oh. No, I did not. Okay.
Yeah, they have some kind of a maybe while we're talking, I'll try to look for that up and see if I can find that. But that's they actually did that. Because cool. I remember the first time I saw something similar to that was during the Gulf War. The Americans put out some kind of a card deck for Iraqis that were most wanted, with Saddam being at the top of the list, something like that. Let's see.
Huh. Well, that's interesting. Yeah. I think that could work. And I'm glad you got images because I didn't get images for my cold cases, but so hopefully you won't win as a result of that.
No. I'm going to vote for you too. So it'll be up to those in chat. But Tom always favors my opponents. So.
Oh, good.
And he's the moderator. Him and Joe are doing the counting. So.
Yeah.
Mass. I only got funny too is one of the cases that I had never heard of. And I didn't discover it until 7:00, just an hour ago, and it's in a town away from me, but I couldn't find any newspaper articles on it, any images at all. I couldn't find anything.
Okay, well maybe it's not so good then.
It actually I didn't want to slant the audience. Sorry, I'm unintentionally cheating, but there was something about I like a good axe murder. So.
Oh no! Don't tell me it's an axe murder, is it?
Yes.
Oh my God. That one's going to win. Jeez.
Well, there were some other interesting aspects to it, but
okay.
Mass State Police Unsolved Deck of Cards. I wonder what it was called. Unsolved. So while I'm looking this up, why don't you discuss the project and why you're excited about it?
I'm very excited about the project. It's a collaboration of people, I've met over time on just doing the internet, being on Kevin's show, live streaming the Karen Read trial, people I've met from Court TV. And so far it's going to be fantastic. We've had meetings. So what we're doing is collaborating on cold cases, and then they can be unsolved murders from years ago. For example, my case I'm bringing up today is from 1944, or they can be missing persons cases. So what we're trying to do is stream to all the different audiences. And of course, we have the fantastic Jen Coffindaffer, who's, a former FBI profiler who is part of the team, Kevin, me, and several others. There are others behind the scenes as well. So we're going to do a major launch with a lot more promotion than we've done for this first show. But we really want to raise awareness to some of these cases and hope that some tips can come in, and perhaps that even the police will reinvestigate some of the cold case murders. Because I've noticed with Marion Ryan's office, Middlesex DAs, there's a real push to open these cold case murders, and a lot have been solved recently, especially with genealogy, like investigative genealogy. So,
right.
But you wonder how well the evidence was preserved. And so we'd like to dig into that and even perhaps give you guys a tour of places where they store evidence. You know, how is evidence stored, especially the old ones from maybe the 1940s, 1950s, 70s. Yeah. So I think it'll be quite a collaboration. I'm very excited about it. What else can you add to that, Kevin?
Well, so this, I think there's two ways probably, in the way you mentioned, the two ways that most of these cases that have been either cold or at least a little bit lukewarm end up getting solved. And one is the one you just mentioned, because this is a new tool where you don't just have to have an exact match for DNA. Because of these banks, like these DNA banks like Ancestry.com, all you have to do is have somebody from that family. And then now police, if they look up, if they were able to get something, say even from the Lizzie Borden case, if they had some DNA from that clothing, they could end up getting with the ancestry line of the killer, because chances are, even if the killer himself, or herself, never had their DNA sample taken, chances are their relatives did, and so you get a close match that way.
Right, and that's how they've solved a lot of these cases too.
Yeah,
but as long as
yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, please go ahead.
Well, as long as the original clothing, there's something is preserved in the way of DNA, like the suspect's DNA from years ago, which it's amazing that DNA can be tested even on old clothes, old clothes, old knives, weapons. Yeah,
as long as they saved it. I mean, most of the time back then they wouldn't have thought to save it. You know, I know in the 80s I've seen a lot of these police cases where they knew it was coming. And so they didn't have DNA testing yet, but they expected it coming, and they did start saving it more carefully in plastic bags and stuff like that. They were very conscious of this. We may solve this someday soon,
Yeah.
But the other thing, and this is really important part, and really the reason why I started thinking about doing this project, was tips. The way the police generally solve crimes, it's not like Inspector Columbo going around asking, I love that show, but going around asking goofy questions and following his instinct and it's done with information that usually they get from the public, from tips. It's very difficult to actually, in a real police case, to get the kind of evidence that they need when there's no witnesses. Right. And so this is, one of the things that surprised me is there are 4 different situations, 4 different cases where over the last year and a half, people have come forward to me out of the blue with information about a case.
That's amazing.
And I know, and in every case, it was something that I hadn't discussed on the channel in over a year. And maybe I'd only done 1 or 2 shows on it. And so I'm like, wow, why are they coming to me? But what I wanted to do was make sure I did the responsible thing with it, the right thing with it. And there's so many different things that encompasses. Is obviously the main goal is to solve the case, but you care about the safety and the concern of the person that's coming forward. And you want to make sure that they're not trying to play me or play the police, or they're crazy or something like that. But usually they're not. Usually it's just a matter of they might be nervous though. So you don't want to force them to go to the police. And so you want to try to just discuss with them what's the best thing to do. And if they do want to go forward, then you have to get it to the police. The goal for me is the first goal was not to get it on the air. And in all 4 of those cases, I was not, and none of them was able to go to the air with any of it. I had to go to the police or decide just to not do anything with it. But, so that's what we got done without trying and with a small audience. So the hope is that we still have a small audience, but now I've got a really good team around me, starting with you and then the other people involved. And then hopefully the audience will grow and we'll be able to get some useful information to police.
Yeah, and we can give the resolution. Exactly. And we can give the police a little push as well. So I've already reached out to the Plymouth County Cold Case Unit. I've reached out to several people who I'd like to get on as guests. So we're going to have a great lineup of guests. Some people say they have the best guests in true crime. I think it's going to be us, Kevin.
Eventually,
it's going to be us. Eventually,
we don't we don't want to overpromise the audience, because we definitely going to have to give us a chance to grow into this. We're going to work hard right out of the gate.
Yeah,
but it's new, so we're going to have to grow just a little bit. I put up Ken's comment. Ken Weeks is always a frequent commenter, and on the Karen Read case, and did extensive work with the taillight.
Yes.
He says, I felt like Columbo after the Karen Read trial. He was doing a lot of work after the second trial. And I said to Ken, I was like, Ken, I love you, man, but it's over, dude.
Yeah, it is exciting news. Thanks, Michelle. I appreciate that. It is very exciting. So what else can we say about it?
So this.
What about Jen? And Jen, tell us about Jen Coffindeffer's role.
So Jen has her own channel, and she is kind of a trademark already of herself. She's been doing this for a while, Breaking the Case with Jen Coffindeffer, and she appears. You're on a lot of shows, but she's been on a lot of shows for several years too. I mean, she's so that's why I say her name is kind of like a trademark. But we become good friends over the last year, and especially part of that panel, which she was with for 2 trials with me, and so now you're part of that too.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be doing Wednesday nights with Jen. So what we're going to do is on the show is 8:00 Monday through Wednesday. So you can tune into this channel and all the other connected channels, Margaret's channel, Jen's channel, and some of the channels that we'll be telling you about. But 8:00 Monday through Friday, and you'll find that same great community that you see in chat. So even if it's me saying something that's utterly boring and unentertaining to you, you can still entertain each other in chat. So you can count on that. But Wednesdays will be Jen's night, and the other nights we're still working out, and we have some new reporters from different parts of the country that are going to be on board. And we had some ladies that are familiar to us that were going to do an all ladies show, and I wasn't even going to have my mug on that one. But they've decided to table that for now due to worries about publicity. So they're going to keep that on the back burner. But hopefully they will get it together at some point and then come on.
Good.
So I did find the deck of cards up here. Did you see that?
Oh, good. Yes, I did see the deck of cards. Oh yeah, I did. So again, let's explain to the people who just came on what we're going to do with the deck of cards tonight.
Okay. All right. So we'll get started with that, and then we'll go back. We can come back to talking a little bit more or answer people's questions about what's coming up. All right. So this is a very simple game where I get to show you how much better I am than Margaret. No, I'm kidding. I'm teasing.
That's fun.
So let me take this one off the other deck off the screen. And so what we'll do is each time we're not going to do this every episode, but say once a week we'll do something like this with this. And we're calling it with the True Crime Herbie. So back in the day, when I owned a bar, I introduced this game. It was a 3-card poker game called Herbie. And it was deadly because you could get someone that is a non-gambler and cause them to lose their house in about 2 hours.
Gosh.
I won't go over the whole game, but it was the thing about it. It was a match the pot game, and the ante was only a quarter. But because everybody that lost, and you only had to pay up. You didn't have to keep anteing up unless the pot got cleared. The only time you had to ante was when the pot got cleared. So whenever people felt emboldened to stay in on the hand, feeling they had a good enough hand, if they lost, everybody that lost would have to match the pot. So sometimes one person would clear the pot, but on that same hand, 3 or 4 people would lose. So they'd have to match the pot. And even if you were out, even if you anteed up but then decided to drop out, you don't have to match, but you're still in for that quarter, and you get a fresh set of cards. Well, what happens is the pot keeps growing, and you're a conservative player, and you're waiting there for just saying, you know what, I'm not going to stay in until I get 3 aces. And you get 3 aces. Yes, all right, I'm in. So you put in. But if somebody else gets to 3 aces, that pot that started out maybe with $1.50 might be up to $500 now, and you have to match it. And fours were wild. So you only get 3 cards, but 4s were wild. And then there was a ghost hand at the end called Herbie. So I would see pretty frequently that conservative player that really didn't like to gamble, but they say, this is fun. I get to play for a couple hours for a quarter and wait around for that big hand. They'd get that big hand and they would still lose at the end and all of a sudden lose hundreds of dollars. I'd feel so bad. So that will not be at stake tonight. All we're going to do is me and Margaret will take. Margaret's going to present a case, an unsolved case from her area. So tonight's theme will be Metro South. So that's south of Boston. And so in particular, Margaret is in the Scituate area and I am in the greater Lawrence Andover area. So we're going to try to find crimes closest, unsolved cases that will be hopefully be interest to you. So so each of us will have 3. So that's 6 total cases. And then at the end, Herbie will pick. So Herbie will be ChatGPT or Grok or whatever. We'll pick one from each area that we didn't already discuss. And so you guys will decide which cases you find will be the most interesting.
Yes.
And if it happens to be more of we'll cover those interesting ones. Yes. And so if Margaret has 2 and I have 1, then Margaret wins.
Yeah. Yep. And by the way, it's interesting, Kevin, since I was a prosecutor up in Lawrence, there must have been awful hard for you to find cold cases. I think we solved
not during certainly none during your era or none during none during the era of Hank Brennan, those.
That's right. Margaret McLean first and then Hank Brennan. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
So who
what
goes
years
first?
Were you there? Are you allowed to say what years you were in Lawrence?
Oh, God. I don't want to be too old, but, a while ago in the 90s at some point.
I was in Lawrence too, but not as a prosecutor.
Yeah.
I wasn't prosecuted either. Unlike when Margaret first talked to me, she's like, "Didn't I meet you once?" I'm like, "No, you didn't."
That's funny.
She was like thinking, like, "Didn't I once see you in court?"
Yeah, didn't I put you away for something?
I'm like, "No, you didn't. I was only in high school when I was in Lawrence for the most part, so I doubt I was committing any crimes in high school."
That's funny.
I was a mostly good kid.
All right.
So Margaret will pick the first case. Do you have?
All right.
Is there any way I can pull something on the screen for it, or?
No. You know what?
Okay.
Well.
If you give me the name, I can try.
Yeah, Frances McGrath, 1944. Okay.
Okay. So I'll be doing that while you're going over it.
Yeah. All right. So this is a cold case murder of this sweet 10-year-old girl on June 11th, 1944. Only 5 days after D-Day, so the Normandy invasion, which I'll have to say my dad participated in. So it's very old. So 10-year-old Frances McGrath was a little girl with brown hair, blue eyes, and pigtails, very cute. The family was from Dorchester, and her father was a former Boston City councilman. Now, they traveled down to Scituate to summer, every summer from Dorchester, and they loved Peggotty Beach. And that's a place where I would take my kids many times to Peggotty Beach, so very familiar. Now, at the time in 1944, Scituate was a very quaint seaside town with a harbor, fishing boats, a bandstand, lots of ice cream shops. It was very Irish Catholic, and parents would feel comfortable letting their kids meet their friends, go bowling, get ice cream. So Frances, she was the baby of the family, only 10 years old. She went with her 2 older sisters, of course, to confession at St. Mary's Church. I'm a member of St. Mary's, so it's so close. And then she decided to get an ice cream. And her sisters were talking with friends. She was talking with friends. Everybody's excited for the summer. So then Frances at one point got her ice cream, and then she went to the bowling alley around 8 p.m. Now, that bowling alley was there for years. In fact, I took my kids to the same bowling alley. Now, she was seen leaving the bowling alley around 9 to 9:15. And there's a little alley near the bowling alley. And remember, it's June, so it was still pretty light out at the time. It wasn't pitch black yet. Now, around after 9 to 9:15, she vanished.
There's an image there. Sorry to interrupt you. There's an image there, but it's very small, not very clear. Sorry.
Okay, I should have made research. Anyway, this sweet little girl just goes out of the bowling alley and she vanishes. there was a massive search, which included the National Guard, the police, the townspeople, even the Boy Scouts. Nobody can find her. I mean, they used dogs, of course. I doubt they used helicopters back then, but so days go by, and then 6 days later, this farmer's driving through Norwell. Of course, that's another area where I live. Then this was so close to my last house. It was about 6 miles from Peggotty Beach. He parked his truck and he was cutting through the woods, and he found her body. So he called the police, and his name was Lopes. His last name, what's his first name? I forget, but his last name was Lopes. And he called the police, and then, of course, they started to suspect him. Now, the little girl was discovered, it was awful. She was, her clothes were off. She was clearly sexually assaulted. She was lying on her back, and she'd been strangled. So here's the weird thing about the case. The man Lopes, who discovered her, finally admitted under interrogation that he had seen the body 3 days before, and he didn't say anything because he was having an affair with a married woman by the name of Mrs. Bertha Pina, and he didn't want her husband to find out. But I think that's very strange and very suspicious because, wouldn't you think, you see a little girl's body, they've been looking for her. It was all over the news. So, go to see if she needed help or somehow report it in some other way. But he said he wanted to hide the affair. And so that was suspicious. But
couldn't you have just called it in like anonymously or something like that?
I would think so. So the police also thought it was suspicious. And the other sad thing is, according to the medical examiner, she may have been alive. They believe she was alive at the time they first found the body. So, but there was a lot of interrogation.
What do you mean? What do you mean? She was alive when?
When Lopes and Pina first discovered the body. So 3 days earlier, they believe she was still alive. Right. So she didn't die right away. But he, it's just so, I think that part is so sad. So anyway, he was a suspect. There were other suspects. Someone else had been kidnapped and let go in the area. She escaped. But the whole point is, I would wonder if the Scituate Police or the Plymouth County DA's office has any information on the case. Do they still have a file on it? I believe it's still open. The other question I would have, Kevin, we talked about this. When is a case too old? So you got to believe the perpetrator, the guy that committed the crime, is likely dead.
Right.
I'd like to know, is there a way we could still open it up and test the any DNA evidence? Were any of her clothes saved? Right. She had sneakers and shoes and a pretty little yellow dress on. Is it in some evidence locker somewhere? And I did do some research. If they were to solve this 1944 case, it would be the oldest one to have been solved. There was one, I believe, in the country, and I believe it was 1954 was the oldest one. And remember, they've also solved other cold cases. Like, remember the Lady of the Dunes? That was solved recently. And let's see, when was that solved? It was the Lady of the Dunes, which was
like last year or something.
However, they exhumed her body 3 times. So she was an unidentified murder victim found on July 26, 1974 in the Race Point Dunes near Provincetown. And her body was exhumed in 1980, 2000, and 2013 in efforts to identify her. And it wasn't until October 31st, 2022, that the Boston FBI officially identified her and named her husband, Guy Moldavan, as her killer. And so that case was closed on August 28th, 2023, almost 50 years later. So, it can be done with the technology we have today. So that basically is my case. My
Well, I want to
first
vote for it
case
even
from
before I hear the
1944.
other cases. I want to know more. And I also love these period piece stuff. So like just thinking
Yeah.
about 1944, this is at the height of World War II. And
Yeah.
at this point, how many young men, which are normally your killers in these situations, right? How many of them are even around? I mean, because most of them at this point are either overseas in Europe or overseas in Japan. So,
Yeah.
Who's left? This is why you had Rosie the Riveter. You had women manning the factories and making the tanks and the guns and stuff like that because the men were overseas fighting. So, how old was this guy, Lopes?
I'd have to look into that. I can't recall how old he was, but that's a good question. And we will be discussing this case further, and I'll get all that information. I'd also like to see if I can get into the file and see if they've closed it yet.
And this is part of what we're trying to accomplish with this project too, is not just hopefully eventually getting to a tip on something, but learning a lot about how these things work, because this is one of the things that I discovered about myself, about the public, and about, frankly, most of the lawyers that I worked with on Court TV. They don't know how the sausage is made, right? They don't know how the police detective investigation works. I didn't know, but they didn't know either. And they don't even know basic things about how evidence is stored. What little we know comes from images that we have in our minds from watching old episodes of Law and Order. And there's no shame in that, but there's something that needs to be satisfied there. So now, when you have evidence like me and Margaret were talking about this the other day on the phone, when you have something like how long does it always just remain alphabetically stored inside the evidence unit? Or is there a point that it gets shifted to a cold case area so it takes up less space? Do you still have evidence in Lawrence District Courthouse from crimes that took place in 1894? If there's some crime that took up boxes of evidence, does that still have the same prominence, or do they have some other warehouse that they store in? How does that work? Those are things I think we want to find out, right?
Exactly. We want to find out and then share them with you guys, because I think most people don't know. So.
Not only share them, we want you guys to help us.
Yes.
Frankly, we don't have all the answers. And that's been the lesson of the Karen Read case. People like Ken Weeks and so many other people who get us information that we didn't have, or, me going back 2 years on this and more that I didn't have, and I still, like, I'm a documents person. I never wanted to try. I don't like to listen to podcasts. And so when I look at a case, in the Karen Read case or any case, I wanted to just go to the documents, but I didn't really even know how to get them. I still don't. I depend on other people. I made contacts during the case that were able to get me documents for the Karen Read case. And there was a lot of documents for that. But still, if we're looking up some case, I'm not a veteran of the court system, and I don't always know how to find these things. So, and Margaret knows a lot more than me, and she spent time at the library today, and you just heard a lot of what she found reflected in that great report there. Yeah. But you guys are helping us. And so, and those that want to take a more active role in helping us, reach out to us. We want you to join the team.
Please. Yeah.
The pay is zero.
Well, no, that's not true. The pay is bringing justice to some family out there, or victims of crime. There may not be any family left for Frances McGrath, but I mean, is it worth bringing her justice? How many years? 80 years later, 81, whatever it may be. Right. That's the question I'd also like to throw out to the chat. Do you think it's worth spending taxpayer dollars if there is clothing left in a box? Do you think it's worth the money to test it if the case is 80 years old? It's a good question.
So my opinion is yes. Now, obviously, there's a limitation. You're not going to want to spend millions of dollars on it.
No.
But obviously you're correct that in all of likelihood, the killer is dead. If he's somehow alive, he's in his hundreds,
Yeah. I think so.
But I think that, there's a lot of negative feelings about police in the public. And this is obviously maybe what fed a lot of the Karen Read hysteria. And some of those feelings are justified, but a lot of them aren't. And so I think there's a value in the public seeing that even a case from 1944, that the police don't give up. They don't give up trying to get to the truth. Yeah. So I think there's a value in that.
Yeah. And Marion Wright. So another thing is The DA, Marion Ryan of Middlesex, I've met her several times. When I taught law at Boston College, I actually taught her son, and she came and spoke to my class. So I'm going to, and she's very, very proud of her cold case unit. So I will reach out to her and see if she can possibly help us. I know they can't share some things with active investigations, but if we can help them with tips. So she is one of the ones I'm going to reach out to. I have a lot of respect for Marion. That's for sure.
So to me, one of the most exciting parts of this channel, this part of it is just I feel even like I haven't been on for a couple weeks. It's good to be back and see the regulars in chat. Yes. But other than that, the part that excites me is I want to have good guests on. Mm-hmm. And I know that Margaret is the key to getting them.
Well, I'm pretty good at getting them. I beg a little bit here and there. I say, come on. But yeah, I actually like reaching out and getting guests. And you'd be surprised how many of them will say yes, which is wonderful. So I'm very positive about that. And that's why, I spent almost all day, brainstorming, looking up old newspaper accounts and thinking, oh, wow, this would be a great guest. And also, I think retired members of law enforcement as state police, those guys will talk to you about the cold cases. So that's another thing. I have
several that talk to me almost daily, and it's the information they have, their insights is invaluable, but also it's just a pleasure to talk to them.
Yeah.
So it's even if they're just talking about their golf game.
Yes, exactly.
All right, so let's get to the next one.
All right, Kevin's case.
This one will not match at all, but it's still an interesting case. Now, this took place in my town of Andover in 2011, and this couple here, their name is McGee. So we have the capability to do a slideshow. So I did make a slideshow. There's a couple images of them, and I did tell Margaret. So I only have 3 slides for this, though. So these are their pictures, and this is their incredible house in Andover. So this was a very, very wealthy couple, and this was only 14 years ago. This is about a mile from where I'm sitting right now.
Is it near Blood Road?
No, I know you would think so, right? But
there's a road near where Kevin lives called Blood Road.
Yeah. That was on my old jogging route. All right, let me see if I could find. All right. So this was the unsolved murders of John and Geraldine McGee. So again, this is from 2011. And I'm reading from an article. In the quiet, affluent suburb of Andover, Massachusetts, just 20 miles north of Boston, the morning of December 14th, 2011, shattered the peace of a close-knit family and an entire community. What began as a routine drop-off of grandchildren turned into a horrifying discovery. John Jack McGee, 69 years old, and his wife Geraldine Jerry McGee, 67, lay dead in the living room of their sprawling 5,500 square foot mansion at 7 Orchard Crossing. That if you guys are familiar with Andover, that's also in the area of Phillips Academy. So obviously that's a newish house, newish mansion, but there's a lot of very old, valuable houses in that area too that are like 300 years old. So the couple was bound at the hands and executed at close range with a .45 caliber firearm. The couple's deaths bore the hallmarks of a calculated professional hit. Right? And as you'll see as I read forward, there's almost no evidence on this. And I don't think they stole anything either. Now, this is another interesting thing. Their black Lexus. Oh, no, not a Lexus.
Oh, no. Oh.
Not a black Lexus. Their black Lexus SUV was found torched miles away in the Boston's North End. So you know what that's going to have people thinking. So this guy was a real estate guy, and whoever killed them seems to have taken their car and torched it in the North End, which is known for, well, I'm not going to say it.
I can say it, the Italian mafia.
You're the expert. Margaret has an excellent book on the Whitey Bulger trial, so she has a lot of expertise in the Italian mafia too. In fact, she's a made woman.
Well, maybe. I can't tell you, or I'll have to kill you.
The first and only. All right. So despite extensive investigations, no arrests have been made, and the case remains one of New England's most baffling unsolved murders. So let me go a little further. All right, backgrounds on the victims. John McGee was a self-made success story in the world of real estate development. A former lawyer, he transitioned into building high-end homes across Massachusetts and New Hampshire, establishing a thriving family construction business where his son, John McGee Jr., played a prominent role, described by those who knew him as hardworking and unassuming. Now, before I read on, just one of the things, and this is where police start too, but this can also lead to really unfair mistakes. When you're looking at when you're looking at an unsolved murder, right? We tend to think of it like an Agatha Christie play, and there's a known list of characters, right? So automatically, family members, they're part of the known list of characters.
Mm-hmm.
When in reality, most of the time, the reason it's unsolved is because we don't know who's the one who did it. So, but I want to say that just because it's automatically, I think you're going to start saying John McGee Jr. was the son involved, Now, of course, as far as I know, there's no evidence of that, but, he was involved with his father's business. So Jack, described as hardworking and unassuming, was not one to flaunt his wealth, except that mansion. His projects were known for their quality, and by all accounts, the business was in excellent shape at the time of his death. So he didn't have any debts or disputes or financial troubles or anything. So those are the areas where you'd normally be looking for, right?
Yep.
His wife, called Jerry, was a retired school teacher from Billerica who had dedicated her career to education. She was deeply involved in community affairs and was known for her tidy, organized nature, habits that would later become poignant clues at the crime scene. Together, Jack and Jerry were pillars of their family, devoted grandparents who doted on their grandchildren. So they don't seem like the typical victims unless they were robbed, but they weren't robbed.
Yeah, that's weird.
They had 4 grown children, including John Jr. and Holly Senikoff. Just take a cough drop. And at the time, they were eagerly preparing for Christmas celebrations when their lives were cut short. Friends and family insist the couple had no known enemies. They were humble, generous, and lived a low-key life despite their affluence. Here's the crime, a timeline of terror, it says. So on December 13th in the afternoon, John Jr. visited his parents at their home. He left around 4 p.m. So that's according to his reports, and they were still alive at that time. He reported that everything seemed normal, no signs of distress or unusual activity. Around 4:40 p.m., Holly, the daughter, spoke with the mother on the phone. They were making plans for Holly to drop off the children the next morning. So the kids are coming over the next morning to be babysitted because Holly had a doctor's appointment. So then, let's see, in the evening of that night, the murders are believed. The murders are believed to have occurred no later than 9:30 that evening. I don't know why it says that, but the police have some reason for that. The couple was found in their living room, seated on the couch with the television blaring. So that's a clue, suggesting that they may have been watching TV when the attack began. Well, a question I would have is, do they normally watch it blaring? Their hands were bound, and they were shot at close range and execution style. There were no signs of forced entry, indicating the perpetrators may have been let in voluntarily or gained access undetected. Jeez. Nothing in the home was ransacked or
Kevin,
stolen.
this sounds like the Menendez brothers.
See, I don't know that case very closely. So that was similar like that?
Yeah.
Nothing was robbed and...
Yeah, and the parents were watching television when the kids came in and shot them. Really? Yeah. It's just so familiar. Yeah.
Is that why the Menendez brothers first became suspects? Because nothing was stolen?
I don't think it... I don't recall, but no, nothing was stolen there either. But they became, suspects.
Well, that's why you might go to, if nothing is stolen, you start to look for family. And
that's what somebody that knew them. Yeah. But it's very eerily similar. So it's creepy.
So the black Lexus was discovered engulfed in flames on Prince Street in Boston's North End. Prince Street is actually right. In fact, it was just a mile from the former mafia headquarters of Angelo crime family boss, notorious Angelo
And
it doesn't list his name here. Angiulo, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So that's the only reason people connect this to the mafia, and I guess maybe because of the real estate connection.
Well, they could have also planted the car in the North End to make it look like it was a mafia.
To make it look like that, right? Which I think Whitey used to do that.
Oh God, yeah. Whitey did all sorts of stuff. So, but
they
that's
like
kind
Italians
of
blamed.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting for me that the car was burned. Why would they burn the car, like the shell of the car? It's very interesting.
So you think maybe because there was evidence in it, right? Fingerprints or something, or
did they find anything? Well, you keep going now because I have a lot of questions.
Okay. Holly, the daughter, arrived at the house as planned the next morning. She noticed anomalies immediately. The front door was locked, unusual when family was expected. All right, so remember, the perpetrators got in, but the front door was locked. So did the crooks leave by the front door, or did they leave some other way? The garage door was open with the lights on. All right, so they obviously left through the garage door. And the family dog was irritated and unleashed. Inside, the dog's leash was left haphazardly on the kitchen island, a break from Jerry's meticulous habits. So that's where her meticulous nature comes in, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Entering the living room, Holly found her parents' bodies. And remember, these people are still alive. So, this was only 14 years ago. So in the chance that they happen to listen to this, God bless you. And I hope
that's awful.
we're able to find something here. And then there's just some follow-up. Let's see. Weapon and cause of death. Both victims died from gunshot wounds, .45 caliber, described as a possibly older model gun. The shots were fired at close range. Let's see, the hands were bound, but no foreign DNA or fingerprints were recovered from the bindings or elsewhere on the home. So suggesting people that knew what they were doing. The absence of forensic traces points to perpetrators who were forensically aware. Mm-hmm. So perhaps wearing gloves, masks, or hats.
Yeah, it sounds like it to me.
Yeah.
And there were no Ring cameras 14 years ago, probably.
No, just before that era, right? So
yep.
I think a house that expensive probably you would think would have some kind of, let's see. All right. Oh, they mentioned this. All right. So security and lack of footage. Despite the home's security systems, no video captured the intruders. Wonder why.
Yeah.
The neighborhood's layout, backed by woods and distant from main roads, may have allowed the killers to approach and escape on foot without detection. That would make sense in that area, but I don't know. I'd like to know more about that surveillance video.
Yeah.
So they may have had surveillance. Yeah. Why would it detect nobody? Did they have surveillance inside the house? Was it just outside the house? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what the rich and famous do with in terms of surveillance.
14 years ago wasn't that long ago. You'd think a house that nice would have some sort of cameras, at least on the outside. I don't know. It
says they had something. It just doesn't say what. It says nothing was found, Mm-hmm. So investigators scrutinized Jack's interviewing associates and reviewing contracts, but found no grudges or disputes. The family dog was unharmed, though agitated, obviously. These houses are too separated. The dog did not alert neighbors or anything like that. And theories and speculation, basically just mob hits, business rivalry or disputes, personal vendetta or grudge, robbery gone wrong. I don't know how.
But nothing was taken.
Yeah, they were tied up. I guess someone could have driven into the driveway.
And there was no sex crime at all, right? It wasn't like a Bundy or something.
No.
Okay. Yeah.
No, and I used to remember the picture. Did I still have the pictures up? This is definitely. Oh, that's of the house.
Yeah, that's at the house. I know Bundy was dead, but I didn't just somebody like him.
This is an older couple. What
a nice looking couple too.
Yeah, very grandfatherly, grandmotherly. Nothing. Not to judge by a book by a cover, but they look like very nice people.
They do. This is a strange case. That's all you have?
That's it. Sorry.
No, there's like nobody was ever named suspect. Like
No.
I guess we'll have, you know what? We'll have to really dig into this. And if it was Andover, maybe, there's some old contacts we have.
Yeah.
God.
Did you have any other insights or anything pop out at you? Which is hard. And if don't be felt bad if you don't, because it seems like nobody really has any insights on this case other than the ones we mentioned, like North End and Mafia.
No, well, I don't think it's the Mafia because I think that made it look, in my opinion, it wouldn't be a Mafia hit. But I'd like to know what he was involved in. He had to have been involved in something.
Then even going with that, you'd rule out the Mafia, but you'd say a rival to the Mafia. So, Charlestown or Southie. Someone that wanted to frame them a little bit.
Yeah.
So they took the truck there. Ken says maybe Colin did it. I have to laugh. Sorry.
Colin. Well, yeah. Then we can get into the dog too. Chloe. Maybe it was.
Yeah,
Chloe.
That's right. So so if you were an organized crime figure or organized criminal from Boston, you might escape in the truck, drive the truck there, torch it, and then get on the T to go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
But how did you get there? Like, why did you, if you stole the truck? Well, that would imply, that might tell me that there was definitely more than two people, or at least two people, and one person drove the truck to the North End. But why did they?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they just leave if they're just going to drive it just to torch it there? What's the point?
And it's weird that they torch it there because, what street you said Prince Street it was torched on?
Yeah.
There's witnesses in the North End.
Right. That's a really crowded area. That's not easy to just get out and light a truck on fire.
And just torch a truck. Very odd.
Yeah, it's really trying to understand, like, why would you take the truck just to torch it? Unless, like, you took it not to torch it, but then you changed your mind along the way. Was there something in you know what? Here's an idea, Margaret. Tell me if I'm thinking too much like Columbo. What if there's something that you're looking for? Although the house was not ransacked, so there goes that idea. But if there's something you were looking for and you thought maybe it was in the truck, so you searched the truck on the way to the North End, and then you didn't find it, and you torched it. Or maybe you did find it.
What could that possibly be? I don't know.
Columbo never knew either. He had to stumble
across
the answer at the end.
That's true.
All right.
Well, we'll have to dig into. That's a good one to dig into. I'd like to know more about that one. Gosh, I think I'm going to vote for you on that one.
Let's move on to the next one. And if you want to give me information, I can Google it. If you don't, that's okay.
Okay. So, well, first of all, do you have a picture of a skull you can put up there?
Of any random skull? I don't.
Any random skull.
You want me to just find a picture of a skull? Okay.
Yeah, a random skull. Because the reason I'm going to do that is, hold on. A human skull was recently discovered off of Route 3 in Plymouth. So any of you who like to go to the Cape, you take Route 3 to the Cape. And as a result of the skull that was discovered in March of 2025, there's been renewed interest in two missing persons cases on the South Shore. Remember, this is South Shore versus North Shore. So think about that when you're driving along Route 3 and you are headed to the Cape. I always thought, Kevin, what did you think about this? Sometimes when there's a lot of traffic and I'm going down to the Cape on Route 3 or coming back, I always think that the median strip would be a great place to hide a body. Who's really going to look in there? Like if you go to the right? If you know, the median strip that is full of woods, like some of them, there's woods in between. Hunters might discover a body on the right side, where they're eventually there'll be houses and everything. But like in that median strip, how many people actually go into the woods there to hunt or, to hike? I wouldn't think very many.
Well, it's funny you bring up the highway thing. So one of the things in some of the other, and I'll maybe even go into this too when I talk about the Andy Puglisi case later, but some of these serial killers, especially I think in the New England area, because of the way this area is more dense than say if you're going out to like Ohio or something like that, you have these networks of highways. So I-90, I-95, 495, 128, all these different things that they can kind of hunt along these highways into kind of, if you're looking for victims, and then get back on the highway pretty quickly, and find a way to dispose of evidence. And my thinking was that if you were going to do that, if you were going to dispose of a body, and think of, like, say, the New Bedford serial killings, which is similar to what you were just saying too. That's where all the bodies were found. But I'm thinking, if I was trying to put myself in the mind of a killer, I would get off one of the lesser, older highways that's like a single lane highway at night, because a lot of those areas have stretches of woods that you could just get off and put a body in, and it's unlikely to ever be found.
Right.
And and at night, there's, because on Route 3 at night, there's always traffic, right? So,
well, I mean, it depends on when you drop the body off. Like, maybe 3, 4 in the morning, there might not be as much. So you could kind of wait and then, veer off into the median, where the police, when the police try to get you for speeding and they're in the median and they're waiting there, veer off into one of those little areas with your lights off, and you could back right into the woods there. I mean, it's just, in my opinion, less likely to be found in the median. Obviously not the area where they mow the grass, but where there's some woods in there. I don't know. It's just a guess, but you're right about the dark.
My luck, I would drop off the body right where the cops always take their coffee break.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you'd be.
They'd find it the next day.
Yeah, but there wouldn't be as many cameras, I don't think, around Route 3. But then again, we talked about this on the phone the other day. How hard is it to commit a murder these days? You would have to have an old car. Remember, with going back to this Karen Read case, the Karen Read's Lexus, you knew exactly where it was going, where it was coming from, and you've got to be careful not to take your phone with you. So you've got to get rid of all this technology and get an old beater car, but then there would be evidence that you bought the beater car someplace or rented it. But it's very hard with all the cameras and the technology to get rid of a body. But anyway, so they found a skull here's the skull I found for you. Oh, good.
I don't know if that guy's good enough.
Well, anyway, you can put up the picture of Sandra Sandy Crispo. Okay.
Oh, Sandra Crispo. Okay, I know this. This is a case that wow, it's so funny you met. This is a case that I got a tip on.
Oh my gosh.
But I can't say anything about it. But please go on.
Well, can you hint?
I didn't know you were going to discuss this case.
I see.
No, I'll have to tell you on the phone. I'll have to tell you on the phone.
Oh gosh, the poor listener.
It was a really good. It was a really impactful tip.
A good tip. Okay, well, Sandra Sandy Crispo. Do you have a picture of her, Kevin?
You can I'm going to try. This is slow. This whole process.
I'll take your time. Well, she was a 54-year-old grandmother from the South Shore town of Hanson, which borders Hanover. It's really not too far from Scituate, about a half an hour. So she vanished literally without a trace. Her car was still in the driveway. Her dog was locked inside without food or water, and she loved her dog, so she would never just go away for a long period of time without giving the dog food and water. And the front door was left wide open. But here's a detail that makes the case different from, other types of missing persons cases. Just 2 years before Sandra disappeared, she inherited nearly $1 million in gold bars from her father.
Which was first broken on this channel.
What was?
The gold bars.
You didn't know about the gold bars?
No, we first broke it.
Oh, you first broke it. Oh, you and me?
Well, this channel did. No, not me and you.
Okay.
We covered this case.
You're confusing me.
We did this case a couple of years ago, and me and Dave McGrath, and we actually had on Sandra's daughter.
Okay.
Leah, or if it begins
with
Lena.
I think her name's Lena.
Lena. That's correct.
Yes.
That's correct.
Yes.
Yeah. But go on. This is a great case. You should write a book about this case, Margaret.
Oh, not another book. Well, you should write one. You might know more about it than me. This is a good one then, because, the issue is, was she targeted for her inheritance? And I believe the daughter kind of thought that it was someone in the family. Did someone close to her know too much? Did she trust the wrong person? Yeah. So 4 years. So it's been 4 years and the case has remained unsolved. And we don't know if that skull is hers or not. I believe that's out for analysis now, but it remains unsolved. No justice, no trace of Sandy. Anything else that you can think of?
What was the skull again? Well, you think
it was off of Route 3 in Plymouth on the way to the Cape.
So it wasn't her skull, though, right?
We don't know yet. The skull has been sent for analysis because it could be Sandra Crispo's skull, or it could be Brittany McCormick's skull. And I'm just going to briefly cover her next.
I didn't know that. So I knew there had been some breakthroughs that were reported by the family, but I didn't know that it was a skull that was found. And you would think they would have identified it by now, though, right?
I didn't see in the papers where they have.
So if they may have identified it, but not for publicly made charges. I don't know.
I don't know. It hasn't said. I'll look. Remember, we're just kind of highlighting a few cases, so I didn't dig into. I don't believe they've identified the skull they found in March yet, but it does. I mean, the labs are backed up, so it could take a while for the DNA to come back. So we'll see, and it'll be interesting. I would like to reach out to Sandra's family, and obviously, if you've already had Lena on, we can talk to her again. We can talk to her about the skull and any theories that they may have. But I think the gold bars are very interesting. And I have a feeling she might have been killed by somebody she knew or knew that she might have the money. Now, did you know if the gold bar, were they missing the gold bars? Do you remember?
Yes. But also, so there's a lot of things that came out in this, and a lot of this great original work was done by guy who's a still great friend of mine who I talk to almost every day, Dave McGrath.
Yep.
And he at one point was going to do a book on this, but I think he decided against it because just his wife worked with Lena, and just decided because of the family connections, it didn't make sense. So if he's not going to, you definitely should, because anything about gold bars is going to sell. All right. Now, I'm not going to go into the tip that somebody reached out to me. So it was someone that had left, not just reached out, but this was a person who had left a note under a statue on the lawn. And
you told me.
So she had reached out to me, and I don't want to get into it too much. I'll have to reach out to her and see, because she has been talking to the police now. So, but she has a very good suspect in mind.
Okay.
And I don't want to talk about him yet, but
let's hope I don't get. Kevin. Let's hope I don't get killed in the process. This is in my territory down here.
That was another area though too. There are some people. Yeah, there is a real killer. Well, first we don't know she was killed. She just hasn't been found. It's been assumed that she was killed, and I think that's a fair assumption.
She's missing.
But that means there's a killer that's out there, and he doesn't want someone like us covering it. So it's a real risk. And so, that's a concern. And I do know one of the person that involved in this that gets very angry about it. So I'm not saying he's the killer, but he gets angry when people cover this now, and he's a little crazy now, and he is kind of connected to the family. So, but there was another theory that I had. Now, her father was from Quincy.
Yeah.
And he was a member of the Bricklayers Union. Died of old age.
You mean laying gold bricks?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a
right.
Joke.
Right. Exactly. But now how does it, now this is the guy that left $1 million in gold bars. Where does a bricklayer get $1 million in gold bars? And by the way, another thing that David learned was that Leah, who came on our channel and didn't tell us this and never told Dave this, and she does seem to be sincerely trying to find her mom's killer, but she herself had $100,000 in gold bricks melted.
Well, where did she get the gold bars?
Obviously from the same source. And why didn't she tell Dave McGrath this? I don't know. So there's some strange things there, but when I look at someone from, listen, you've written books on organized crime.
Yep.
You got a bricklayer in the Bricklayers Union from Quincy. Where does he get $100 million in gold bricks? And
not 100 million, 1 million, but still.
I'm sorry, 1 million. Yes. Well, I throw millions around like they're nothing.
Right. No, I
$1
agree.
million, but that's $1 million in gold bricks. Where does he get something like that, right? And if it was something illegal, and I'm not saying it was, would he have partners, and would his partners know about those gold bricks when he passed?
Maybe it was Whitey's gold.
But you do see what I'm saying? Like, let's say he was involved in a heist.
Yeah.
And his share of the loot was $1 million. And his partners knew that he was sitting on $1 million. And when he passed, they knew that he left those to Lena. Not to Lena, to Sandra.
To Sandra. To Sandy.
That was, so when Dave was discussing me, that was always my wild theory. I get wild theories. You'll get used to it.
The theory kind of makes sense. You're right. The bottom line, I think, is what is this guy doing with $1 million of gold bars? I mean, who has gold bars lying around?
I only have 10 or 11,
I don't even have one.
Yeah, I'm kidding. I've never seen a gold bar.
I've never seen one either. Like wouldn't they be heavy? $1 million in gold bars? I gotta believe would be heavy.
Yeah, it's probably not something that they had shipped by Amazon, right? So
yeah,
I don't know. So just before we get to the next case, were you done on that one?
Well, that's about it. I didn't want to go on all night about it, but yeah, that's it. So the disappearance of Sandra Crispo, and she was what did I say? 54, a grandmother.
Yeah.
Yeah, from Hanson.
There's a lot to this
nice
story.
Little town. Nice town.
Yeah. You know how it is where Margaret lives. Everybody owns a boat down there.
Not in Hanson.
If you don't know, well, no, but where you are in Citrus. If you don't own a boat, you can't vote.
That's right. You're funny.
But no, Lena had on a picture of her mom when she was younger and was, beautiful woman.
Mm-hmm.
And
did you put a picture up for me, Kevin?
There's a picture up on the screen right now. You can't see it, but
I can see it.
But of her as a grandmother, and she's still a beautiful grandmother. And who knows, maybe she's still alive. And but she had her own problems.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
This is I don't know how far we go into these, but it's a complicated case. And but the daughter, the family really wants it solved, so they want media coverage of it. So for that, I think it makes sense to continue going into it. And before we go into our next case, I just want to say, so the numbers here are horrifying on the viewing the audience right now. It's 68. That's like almost back to old school Yellow Cottage days from like a couple of years ago. And
we didn't promote this at all. We're going to start.
Right. But normally I wouldn't have to promote, just would do a show and you at least on a bad night get a couple hundred. Right. So, but okay, I'm going to take it though, instead of as a negative, I'm going to look at the familiar faces in chat. I'm seeing Maui Swift and Ken.
Yeah.
And be grateful for them. And,
yes.
And
thank
know
you.
that where I think the team that we have in place in this building, where this show is going to go, it's better to start from a low point and see. Do you remember back in the day when we were first doing a show and we had only 68 people watching?
Yeah.
And Rick Biatch is actually watching from England. She's another old regular of ours. And
thank you.
What time is it out there? Britt, what time is it?
It's got to be in the middle of the night.
Yeah. But thank you for your loyalty and watching us, and spread the word on the cool things we're going to be doing. Sailboat Wolf, good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while, actually. So one of the things too is we lost a lot of. We had certain type. Well, I had certain types of regulars on the channel before I started covering Karen Reed, and some of them got sick of the case. They were, and so. We'll get some of those people back and we'll get new people. And if we put out good content, they'll come. Absolutely. And we will. There's no doubt about that because we're both working hard. So the next case, let me take this one off the screen on the list, is the one I mentioned to you, Andy Puglisi. Mm-hmm. It's a good one. And I did have just a couple of pictures. All right. So this is Andy. Now, this is an interesting story because it's personal to me. I did not know Andy, but Andy disappeared from Lawrence, Massachusetts in 1976. I was the same age as Andy, or a few months younger. And I remember very vividly what happened. They brought out the National Guard. There were helicopters overhead. It was a very traumatic time for the city. And still remember the headlines every day. The whole city kind of stopped for about a week. And where he disappeared from was, I do have a picture of this too. All right, this was the Higgins Memorial Pool. It's a state pool that's right across from the stadium projects. There are several projects in Lawrence. One of them is called the Stadium Projects, and this is where Andy lived. And so you see, this would have been a crowded summer day. And there were several state pools. I didn't go to this one. I used to go to a different one on the other side of South Lawrence. And Andy, like a lot of kids in the projects, had a little bit of a troubled house. His mom had a lot of different, mostly it was women single moms raising their kid without men, really not a lot of male figures in the projects. So a lot of kids though. And so from that perspective, fun for the kids to grow up because they had a lot of kids to be around. And so she had a lot of boyfriends in and out. And that particular morning, she had a boyfriend that he was kind of a layabout who was hanging around just smoking weed on the couch all the time. And so she gave him his marching orders that morning, although he hadn't worked it up to leave yet. And so Andy gone to the pool that day with his friends and his brother. I forget. I'm going on memory on this. I'm not going on any reading off everything. And he lived. His house was his particular apartment in the projects was just like a minute walk from what you're looking at right here in this photo. It was very close. So if his mom had opened the door and yelled, "Hey, Andy," he would have heard it easily. Everybody went home, and Andy stayed late for some reason that day. He was one of the last kids to leave the pool. Now, in this environment, later on research showed that there were 4 or 5 known convicted child predators working the area.
Jeez.
I'm not sure exactly what that means, but this is what police said. So all we know is he disappeared and was never seen again. No trace of him was found. But there were several suspects, actually, and there are still several suspects. This is the main suspect here. His name is Wayne Chapman. And Dave McGrath did a book on Wayne Chapman called Monster, the Wayne Chapman story. And a few weeks after Andy went missing, Wayne Chapman was picked up driving in New York State. I got a really bad picture, but it's the only one here. All right. This is actually a bread truck. And if you look closely, you can see that there's newspapers covering the windows. So this creepy dude drove around. He lived in Providence, and he drove around in a bread truck that had become his personal vehicle. And pretty much, he worked at the hospital in Providence. He had access to the crematorium, so it's possible he got the body there. And pretty much all he did was stalk children. He worked by day or whatever shift I don't know if he did day or night shifts. When he wasn't working, he was stalking children, taking photos. There's also, based on some of the camera equipment amount, he may have been selling photos. 2 days before Andy went missing, somebody in the projects, a man came into the projects, took a photo right outside the window of one of the houses near where Andy lived, one of the apartments in the projects of Andy, and gave it to him to keep. And he went home and showed it to his mother, and his mother ended up having that photo. And
wow,
I mean,
that's weird.
To me and to a lot of people, very likely that was his killer. And so this guy was in there grooming, looking for victims, hunting for days, and grooming this kid, earning his trust. And that would be back then, a Polaroid. Nowadays, kids have smartphones, right? But back then, for someone to take a picture of you and give you that photo would have been pretty cool. That definitely would be a way to make friends with a kid, because it would not be easy to have access to something like that for a kid in 1976. But still a pretty cheap piece of equipment for an adult to have, a Polaroid camera, So that's the converted bread truck. That's Wayne Chapman. And there were witnesses. Witnesses saw somebody similar to him. He was a very distinctive looking guy because he's 6'5", He's tall and thin and kind of bent over and creepy. But he had a friendliness about him. So he knew, even though to us he looked creepy, he had a friendliness about him. So he knew how to talk to kids. And, at one point earlier, and a few years before this, he had been a camp counselor. What are those clubs called for kids? I forget what they were called. I never did anything like that. But
like Boys and Girls Clubs?
Yeah, but different. No, it was something like RH clubs, or what was it called?
4-H? 4-H?
4-H, yes.
I was in 4-H. Okay.
You know what it is. Yeah, you're an outdoors person. I never
Yeah.
did anything like that. But so he would take kids from the city out into the woods and teach them how to camp. And they were later on, years later. Now, this guy, after he was convicted from this, in that van he got pulled over, he had hundreds or thousands of pictures of Polaroids of kids and compromising positions. And he had handcuffs and a starter's pistol and duct tape and all just the pedophiles, handbook kind of stuff. And back then that kind of stuff was unknown too. But when the police pulled him over and the police thought there was something suspicious about his truck, he had photos like that plastered on his dashboard, like he was examining them in the car wherever he was going. Very reckless and
that's so creepy.
Yeah. So he never did get out of jail. I forget what he was convicted for. Oh, he was convicted. He raped. So he actually did rape 2 boys, Margaret, same age as Andy, that did identify him from this. He had raped him a year before using the same thing. He tricked him away from the pool.
Well, then it's got to be him.
It does seem like it, but unfortunately, we'll go over it. Well, if we come back to this, there unfortunately were other predators. And the basis for Dave's book was that were these predators actually, and this is terrifying, working together? Some of them. Oh,
maybe. God.
And these predators are known. One of them was from Haverhill. Charlie Pierce was his name. He's more monstrous than Pierce. Another one was Bar Jonah. Have you heard of that guy? You've heard of him.
No.
Think about it a moment. He eventually got convicted of numerous bad abductions and molestations in Massachusetts, and they kept letting him out of jail because you know how Massachusetts is.
Yeah.
And he eventually moved out to Wisconsin or Minnesota. Great Falls is in Minnesota, right? Great Falls.
Yeah.
Where he eventually befriended a kid, abducted him, killed him, and ate him.
Oh my God.
This guy Bar Jonah is suspected in hundreds of deaths. He might be the most monstrous of them all. But all of these guys became pen pals in prison. And a lot of them met at Bridgewater State Hospital.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I call that Monster U. And me and Dave's family went out there and shot some footage out there a couple of years ago too.
Oh my God.
And there's a helicopter that swoops 24 hours a day over that prison. So when I was out there filming, I filmed the helicopter as it was swooping down to investigate me. I walked right onto the prison yards. I'm lucky I didn't get arrested.
Yeah, you are lucky.
I was
scary.
filming. I mean, and they obviously looked at him and said, he's harmless. Look at this guy.
Yeah, geez.
But they were following us, so it's so I guess we'll stop on the Andy case there. But you guys can decide if that's something you want to hear more about later. So what's the next one you got on deck?
Yeah, so the next one I have on deck. Hold on one second. Let me see.
And if you have any photos, or if you have anything you want me to Google.
Yeah, Brittany McCormick from Hanover, Massachusetts.
Okay.
So if you want to put her up, this is just a quick one because I know people would be getting tired. There isn't much on her. Do you have a picture? Sorry, I should have given you pictures ahead of time.
No, I have to type with one hand because I'm holding the mic. Let me put the mic down.
Okay. Well, anyway, Brittany McCormick vanished on July 6th, 2021 from Hanover, Massachusetts. And Hanover, of course, is South Shore, and it's right next to, it's not far from Scituate. And I don't know if you guys know the Hanover Mall, and it's on the way to the Cape. Anyway, let's see what else. So she was, so she just disappeared. She did have a drug problem, but she'd been into rehab. So she, the family said it was just very odd for her to disappear without a trace. So there was a massive search conducted by the state police, by cadaver dogs, and possibly one of the cadaver dogs had a hit near Studley Pond, and they didn't find her. And then the police also received a tip that her remains might be found in a wooded area near Central Avenue behind a car wash. And they looked and looked, but they didn't find her. But by that time, they think the elements or animals could have taken her remains if she was there, but still no evidence of that. The McCormick family is offering a $20,000 reward for information leading to Brittany's return and $40,000 for information leading to an arrest and conviction. So again, going back to that skull that was found along Route 3, police suspect that it's either Sandra Crisbro or the McCormick girl who disappeared. So that's all I have on that. But, the family would love to have closure. Police speculate that she is not alive. That she is deceased. But they haven't found her body.
And these are the cases, all of them,
Yeah.
but these are the cases because why we want to do work like this, because the family is just happy to have anybody cover it,
Right.
And we hope that our channel will get big enough that it can make more of a difference reach enough people, because I do believe that tips on a lot of these cases will come forward.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times it's not that someone's withholding information. They have that piece of information. They're not sure if it's meaningful, and maybe they're spinning it around the back of their head. But when they see people talking about it, and they start saying, maybe this is, and then they reach out and they say, what do you think? Is this meaningful?
Mm-hmm.
And then me and Margaret and if we have other people on the team that we can, depending on, law enforcement people with it, but Margaret knows a lot of law enforcement people. And, we can get it to them and say, what do you think? Is this meaningful? But we'll always do it in a responsible way.
Yeah, so definitely.
We won't do anything that the person reaching out doesn't want us to do. It'll always be with their permission. Right. And thank you very much, Sailboat Wolf, for the generous donation. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And Kevin, that's thank you for putting the picture up.
Yeah. And she's a lovely girl.
Nice picture. That's lovely girl.
Yeah.
You feel for her, and you feel for her family, and just to go, years. I know it hasn't been that long. It was July of 2021, but still 3 years. As a mom, I would be constantly thinking of, is she out there somewhere? You never know. Does somebody still have her, or is her body out there someplace? They just want closure, see what happened to her. And I'm sure some of them still have hope.
All right. So we're going to do this in a very kind of informal way, and we're going to need Thomas Fleming and Joe, if she's still here, to help us and really make the final call for us. So of these 6 cases, we want people in chat just to say that which ones they're most interested in. If possible, select 3. But if you're only interested in one, select that one. And so obviously it's not an exact science yet, but we're just trying to see. Good to see Joe is still here, and she's in a different time zone, so it's hard for her to. And someday, Margaret, will have to do a private call with me, you, and Joe and Tom. I would
love that.
Personally. Yeah. Tom was at the Cape last week. Too bad you couldn't set up a meet back then. But I joined him there, but for stuff that I had medical stuff going on, I couldn't get there.
Yeah. What part of the Cape?
Next year, Brewster.
Oh, nice. Very nice. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
They had good weather on the Cape.
Last year when I was at the Cape, I got a call from Court TV that they wanted me to do a show.
Ooh.
And so I did a show from Tom's mother's cottage, which was cool because it was really, she actually, I don't know if she still does, but she was someone that watches the channel once in a while. So if you happen to be watching tonight, good to see you, Mom. Tom's mom. She's a great person. I've stayed there many times, and but it was cool for her to see her cottage on Court TV.
Oh, that would be really cool. Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
And speaking of court TV, they're following the Donna Edelson case, so I'll be following that as well. Jury selection begins this week, and that's
Mhm.
another big trial down in Tallahassee, Florida. So,
Are you going to stream it?
yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Probably. You want to come on
We'll,
and
we'll
yeah, we'll
talk
talk
about it.
about it.
So,
We'll talk
you know,
about it.
I'm already definitely want to stream the Walsh trial.
Oh
And
yeah.
I didn't really know much about the Donna Adelson case until Margaret was telling me. We were having dinner last week, and wow, it is. I can see all the reasons why people are fascinated with it. It's a really complicated case. Really complicated case.
Oh, who's going to the? I'm going to the Donna trial. So Jimmy
Oh wow.
McNulty. Seriously, that's pretty cool. Yeah. So
Well, Tom
reach
and Joe,
out.
keep an eye on chat too, because we want to keep a rough tally. So we have the Andover case, we have the Andy Polisi case.
Do they remember all the cases?
I had one case. Oh my God, I only did 2 cases, didn't I?
Yes, you did, but that's okay.
Okay.
You can't count, Kevin.
All right, we'll go with that handicap. This other one though, I do want to go over sometime because it's an axe murderer case in Haverhill that's unsolved. Where actually the guy
voted for Sandra Crispo.
We're doing that one whether you vote for it or not, but the good vote. We're definitely doing. We already have an article on that on the website, Margaret. Believe it or not.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't even know
that's on my list of priorities to do, but I'm glad you picked it because I really want you to do a book on it because you're going to have some kind of title. I think I gave Dave a great title for a book because put a title that has gold bars in it, it's going to sell.
That's going to sell.
So
let's remind
I'll talk to David and make sure he's not doing it.
Let's remind everybody what the cases are. There's the Francis McGrath case from 1944.
There's
Andy Puglisi from Lawrence. There's Sandra Crispo. Then there's the McCormick.
The girl on the screen here, McCormick.
Yep. And from Hanover.
And the Andover case, which the older couple, McGee. That was.
I love that McGee case. Yeah, the one in Andover. So we should have put it down there with next time we will. But so what do you think? I don't know. I can't see the vote. So I see you now. So Puglisi is the case. Thomas Fleming says Puglisi.
Well, Thomas Fleming helped us do a documentary shoot. We actually did a little bit of a documentary shoot for the Andy Puglisi case a couple of years ago. And Tom led the camera crew. We had actually like 3 cameras out there.
Oh, wow.
And we almost lost 2 people on the journey. I kid you not. That you wouldn't believe it from that picture there, but the woods behind that pool is actually deep, and it goes down to a somewhat treacherous river called, that seemed at the time, the Shawshene River. So first Dave McGrath slipped and fell into the river. And then someone who is going to be on this channel in a couple of weeks to discuss the Molly Bish case, Erin Warschauer, who used to be a co-host on this on my channel, she's going to be on to discuss that. But she was with us for that shoot, and she fell in. When she first fell in, it was so slippery. She first looked like, oh, okay, I'm embarrassed, and she tried to climb. At that point, she was only in up to her waist, and then she tried to climb out, and she slid up to her eyebrows, and then she looked terrible.
God, that's treacherous doing shows with you. I don't know. I want to be on that Molly Bish show too. I'm very interested in covering that one.
Oh, yes. Yes.
That's a good one. 25 years now. I think this year was the anniversary of Molly Bish. So I can't tell who they're all voting for. Can you, Kevin?
No. So I'm because it's hard if you're trying to talk to. So I'm watching in and also looking at you. So so I'm going to entrust Joe and Thomas to make the final decision on this.
Okay.
So you guys can keep discussing. And if you're not voting, of course, there's not there's only 80 people watching on YouTube right now.
That's not bad.
On Twitter, it says 366.
I didn't know we were on Twitter.
Yeah, I do it on Twitter too, but that tabulates different. So if somebody
I should put it on my Twitter.
So that just means that 366 people since the beginning. That doesn't mean they're all here now. Whereas on the YouTube, that's a live count. And the good thing about it is, though it started at 68, it's just nosed up and it hasn't gone down. So it's up to 82 now.
Good. So we're not too boring. So Kevin, we're not too boring.
At least we're holding them, right?
We're holding them.
We're holding them. Just they're trying to run away, and we got them just by the neck. Like, no,
I know.
no.
Hopefully, my son's still on. My son was on. He likes it when you rant. He likes your rants.
See, Thomas hates it when Kevin rants and gets angry, but Margaret's son likes it when Kevin has an angry outburst.
Yeah, Davey, if you're still out there,
I think he finds it amusing.
Yeah. Because there was one time we were live streaming, and there was one time you were going on a rant, and I was like, Kevin ranted, and he's like, I loved his rant. That was the best. I'm like, oh my God.
She only told me that last week because I was apologizing for a rant. I
I
promise I won't do any rants.
No, he was 26. He loved it. He's like, that was great. Kevin's rant. Angry Kevin is great.
Angry Kevin is great. It happens once in a while. Well, the funny thing is if somebody comes in the chat and they're insulting me, it doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
But if somebody comes in the chat and insults me in a way that's really stupid, like stupidity bothers me.
Yeah.
I don't know why. And
that's what happened, I think. You were ranting about something like that. It was over Karen Reed or something. I don't know. But it was fun.
I almost got a little mad. I did a quick show last week, Margaret, and somebody in chat said, get over this. We were talking about the Karen Reed case. And get over this case. Just give it up because she's already been declared not guilty twice. And I was like, that's so stupid. You can't be declared not guilty twice.
Nope.
I mean, if you're going to come in and tell me what to not talk about and to not talk about something, maybe if you don't know what you're talking about at all, you should just kind of be quiet. That's not a bad rule, right?
Right. Exactly.
Like if we're going to have a show about how to fix a car, I'm not going to say a goddamn.
That's funny. I don't know. You seem to know about cars, but
me, I don't know anything about cars. I know nothing. I know how to press the button to make them start. Maybe.
That's funny. Yeah. So a lot of exciting things. Absolutely. So we'll have to let you guys know. And then we're definitely going to dig deeper into some of these cases though, because it really fascinates me. Definitely Sandra Crispo. I love the one in Andover too. So we've got gold bars. We got a big Andover mansion. We've got a burned car in the North End, torched Whitey style. So there's a lot of good stuff, A lot of good stuff.
So we'll say it multiple times in every show, even though there's a small audience tonight. Reach out to us. Reach out to either one of us, whatever you're more comfortable with. And I suspect a lot of times, even though people have been comfortable reaching out to me when I was by myself or when I was with Dave, they were also very comfortable reaching out to Dave. But a lot of people that follow these channels are women, and you're going to be comfortable reaching out to Margaret. And I can tell you firsthand, you can trust her. And
so definitely.
She's not going to betray you in any way. We're not looking to try to get something. Look, this was something that someone called me about in March on the Crispo case, and I still won't go public with it on the air.
Right?
So
no, I trust. Yeah. You gotta gain people's trust. And the other thing, if you're interested in anybody interested in the Walsh case, Brian Walsh, who allegedly dismembered and murdered his beautiful wife Anna. I did a multiple podcast series on that in my podcast, which you guys can get on Apple. It's a Crime with Margaret McLean. So, and we'll be covering that case extensively on our channel. We'll be live streaming anything that happens there. So, and I also want to cover the serial rapist case. So that's another one I'd like to cover. So there's a lot good stuff going on, bad stuff going on, I should say.
Yeah, I know. I know. It's like our business is bad things. This is the website.
Oh yeah.
It's still under construction, but it's coming a long way. And so for those of you there for instance, Ken Weeks and Hillbilly Nitro over the last year or so have contributed so much in sending stuff to me for the Karen Reed case. And this is something too. So if we're discussing a case that you're interested in, you may want to send stuff to us that we put in an article here. Or you may want to write an article with some, like, Ken did a lot of taillight analysis and that kind of thing. But so some next future case that we're looking at, if there's something that's interested to you, these are the kind of contributions that we really need and are really appreciated. So it's not necessarily a bad thing that we're starting out with such a small show here too, because this is kind of our and what'll happen too is over the next 24 hours, you'll see a couple of thousand people will view this. People will go and they'll say, "Oh, they did a show and I missed it," and they'll go and they'll watch it. But anybody that wants to help us out, this is the website for this here it's still under construction, but you can check it out. I think you can still leave comments there. It's called Cold Case. It's easy to remember. coldcasedesk.com.
Yeah, it's great that you got that name, coldcasedesk.com. I'm shocked. Anyway, and I'm going to be putting up, we're both going to be putting up articles on the cases we've discussed and pictures and all that. So,
okay. Is there anything else anybody wants to say, or Margaret wants to say, or anybody in chat gets a last word in, a last insult towards Kev? Want to see if they can produce a rant?
Yeah. Insult Kev so we see what the rant is like. We are the seed investors for Cold Cat. Thanks, Jimmy. You're right. That's funny.
And Red Sky just arrived late. Red is on the team too. So Red is she, as you know, she's for a while been our YCT lawyer. Well, that was before we had Margaret, because she used to be a criminal lawyer, and but she is now going to be in charge of the Missing in the USA, which focuses on missing persons. That's another aspect of it's a whole channel that we're going to develop on this. And so we're going to focus on missing persons. And so I'm hesitating to say her name because sometimes she changes her name a lot. So she's obviously trying to keep her real name discreet for now. So we'll just call her Red. I don't know if she doesn't actually have red hair that I know of. Margaret does, but.
Well, kind of. It used to be redder back in the day.
Yeah.
It did, even in my picture in there. Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah, well, it looks nice. It's still it looks great to wear however you want to do it.
Thank you. And yes, I'm excited to be working with Red Sky. Absolutely excited. She's awesome. So.
Okay, so unless there's anything else you want, I'll give you the honors to say good night to everybody.
Well, thank you so much for listening to our brand new channel, and spread the word, because I think we can do a lot of great things together with all you guys, with Kevin, me, Jen, Red, and you name it. There's other people too. So I really appreciate you guys tuning in.
And I will just add that this Darlene just said, will we look into the Thomas Brown case in what's Canadian Texas? What is Canadian Texas? Because Texas is nowhere near the Canadian border, so I don't.
Thank you all. What's it? Thank you, all kind of music chick. Thank you. I appreciate it. Oh, thank you, Maui Swift, for the hair comment. I had to do it quickly before this show. So, what's the case? What's the case? You guys.
I met Margaret in person for the first time this week, and to my surprise, she was tall and thin. I mean, she's tall and thin, really. It's you don't know when you just look at someone sitting in a chair. And it would surprise you guys to know that I'm actually really only 4'11".
Are you?
No, I'm kidding. You met me.
I know, but I was like, what? That's why I was like, what?
I'm teasing. It was a bad joke. It's better than rants. But what is Canadian Texas? Is it? Oh, it's a small town in Texas. Oh, I thought that was like a slang thing, like Canadian Texas.
Yeah, we're going to be discussing cases all over the country, not just New England, but we sort of
let's write this one down for them. Thomas Brown. Let me open up a note thing here. Okay. If you can do that too, so I won't, in case I lose it. Thomas Brown.
I'm writing it down. Thomas Brown from. Okay. Thomas Brown from Canada, Texas.
Canadian Texas, it says.
Texas? Canadian.
I don't know.
Texas.
Yeah, I'm baffled by what Canadian Texas is.
It's a weird name for a town.
I'm sure something will come up. Yeah.
Well, we'll look it up.
Yeah.
Definitely look that up.
And see, another thing too is we also created a Reddit site, which I'm so neglectful here, but that would be a great place that someone like Darlene could have put in. Could leave a comment there. Hey, can you look into this case? That'd be a great place to leave it too.
That's true too. absolutely. Good idea.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
So
but
good.
like a knucklehead, see, we have to have somebody that is like keeping us straight because we have so much
Yeah.
information that we're, it's in the Texas Panhandle.
Oh, okay.
What is it called? So is it just like an area called Canadian, like a lot of Canadians settled there?
Probably. That would be my guess. Canadian Texas. That would
And
be big guess.
that's right. Do you, and elevate the process is Professor Ann Burgess. Don't you know Professor?
Oh, so Professor Ann Burgess. I don't personally know her, but I taught at Boston College, and she's a guru at Boston College, and she teaches. I think she's in charge of the nursing school, but I do believe we'll be able to get her on. I'll reach out through someone who I think someone also knows her as well. But yeah, she's just brilliant, and what an amazing mind, and she's one of the top in the country, in the world, to be honest. And we'd be very
forensic
honored
scientist
to have.
or
Yeah, she's psychological
forensic psychologist.
profiler. Yeah, well,
profiler?
yeah, forensic psychologist, but like the
Yeah.
guru that teaches everybody. And she'd be the type that Kohlberger would like. She'd be the type that would get the interview with Kohlberger in jail. Like, she's that amazing. So I've watched her on all sorts of crime shows. She's been on and she's older. She's older, but gee, is she well spoken and bright. So that's a fabulous idea. She'd be a great guest.
This Thomas Brown case must be a somewhat famous case because Britt Biatch is in Britain, and she knows of it. She says Thomas Brown's skeletal remains buried 8 years after his disappearance.
Oh, that's weird.
I guess that's where the trick is on that one.
Yeah, I like Surviving the Survivor, Jimmy. I've seen her on Surviving the Survivor. Yeah, Ann Burgess.
He's been a lot in the news lately, but we'll just leave it at that. His little feud. So, yeah. Hey, well, they say there's no such thing as bad publicity, anyways. So
that's true. That's true.
All right, Margaret. Thank you very much for being here. Everybody in chat, everybody that's been with us, everybody that is going to watch us on replay. Thank you very much, and we will be back once we launch formally, which I'm not sure if it's next Monday or the week after. Maybe next Monday we'll be on. Starting then, you'll be able to have us in your living room live every night, Monday through Friday, and maybe more than that, because we're trying to develop more shows and more co-hosts out of this channel. But people that are like similar to me and Margaret and me and my moderators and the people in chat here that are honest, and we want to look at cases honestly. We're not trying to grift on cases or play up conspiracies. We'll talk about a good conspiracy if there seems to be something there.
Yeah.
But we don't want to be exploitive. That's what we don't.
No, definitely not. No.
Right. Okay. Everybody, thank you very much and have a good night.
Yes, thank you.